For our first story, we have How to 23 female, get over his 25 male size. I have no one I can talk to about this, and frankly I'm ashamed of myself, so here I am. I recently started dating my boyfriend. We haven't done the deed yet, but yesterday we were making out and I ended up giving him a BJ. The problem is his size. I mean, it's the smallest I've seen. Like I could fit the whole thing in my mouth, when hard. It's easy to say that size shouldn't matter, and that there are different things we could do to compensate, although sex toys aren't that accessible in our country. I'm just wondering, what if size does actually matter? What would I do? I actually really like him, although we haven't been dating long, but we've known each other for 5 years now, and I can see myself marrying this guy. I just get in my own head about this one specific thing. I also feel terrible about the way I feel. Any advice on this would be highly appreciated. That's the end of our first post. Let's see what the commenters had to say. Our first commenter says, honestly, you won't know if it's a problem until you try. The best sex partner I ever had was much smaller than average. I was nervous about how it would go, but somehow he seemed to perfectly fit my body. He hit all the right spots. Never captured that magic with any other guy. Our second commenter says, if you're up for it, don't knock it till you try it. One of my exes was by far the smallest I'd ever been with, 3 to 4 inches, but he was also one of the most sexually confident. That translated to a lot of head, finger usage, and the size itself is literally able to hit a woman's G-spot more effectively. The G-spot is pretty shallow. Sex wasn't a problem. Our third commenter says, if you do decide to break up with him, do not tell him it was because his dick is too small. Make up something else, anything will be better. Literally anything else. Do not tell your friends the real reason. He will honestly prefer you tell everyone he was abusive to having a tiny dick. I am not joking about any of this. For our second story, we have How to 31 female, handle my husband's 36 male Super Bowl party. My 31 female husband, 36 male, and I are supposed to be having a Super Bowl party tomorrow. We have been in a fight for weeks, and he invited people while we were fighting. I have no idea how many he invited, or the guest list. Most of our friends all stem from his friend group. I only invited one friend and her husband. I've asked him if he coordinated for people to bring shareables, contributions. Doesn't answer. I ask him how many and who is coming. Doesn't answer. I ask him what time people are coming. Doesn't answer. He's not the kind of person that plays host well, that always falls on me. He doesn't think about making sure people are fed and have drinks, etc. It's the night before and we have nothing in our fridge to suggest we have food to heat up or make. No beverages to get us through a party. How do I handle this situation? On one hand, I'm tempted to let this party be a disaster, but on the other hand I'll be embarrassed if it is. Update. I had the courage to ask one of his best buddies if my husband told anyone to bring contributions and he said no. Second update, additional info. His friends all have wives that I am friends with. Half of them have kids. I don't know who's coming, but I can't bank on it just being a guy's party. That's the end of our second post. Let's see what the commenters had to say. Our first commenter says, if I were you I'd plan to attend a party elsewhere and leave him to it. Our second commenter says, I'd cancel the invite to the only 2 people you invited and leave the house for the night. His party, his problem. Our third commenter says, tell your friend that you can't host, and don't be there. Watch the game at a bar, or a friend's house, or skip it altogether and go to a movie. I would seriously reevaluate this relationship. He's punishing you by making this your anxiety. For our last story, we have Update. On our anniversary, my 27 male wife, 27 female, and I were intimate, and she said another man's name during sex. He's a mutual friend. I am at a loss. How do I navigate this? Original post. Link. Thanks to everyone who reached out. I, 27 male, couldn't reply to everything, but the outside perspectives helped. A general consensus was that my wife, 27 female, and I's issue should be tackled in therapy. I knew that's what I should have done, but I delayed. I was too embarrassed. The thought of bringing up what happened in counseling made it worse, but I knew it needed to be done. My wife didn't initially take kindly to it. She was defensive and accused me of throwing her under the bus. I disagreed. I wouldn't throw her under the bus either. The truth is, we never arranged topics in therapy beforehand. We argued over each other. Our therapist came through as a referee. She called for a time out for us to recollect and to reflect on the objective being working towards a solution, not going at each other. We were able to actually talk once things cooled down. My wife was asked how she would feel if the roles were reversed. She admitted if I had said another woman's name while we were having sex and on our anniversary, she wouldn't have handled it well at all. She apologized for downplaying my feelings. While I appreciated her acknowledgement, I still thought she wasn't honest about why she said the guy's name. So I pressed. She said she didn't want to hurt me more than she already did. I told her she was hurting me by lying. She confessed that during a stint where we weren't having sex, she had engaged in fantasies to satisfy herself. One of them was of our friend. I knew the stint she was talking about. Intimacy as a whole has been a struggle, but there was a point where we were abstinent sexually. We weren't even sharing a bed at the time. We'd argue, then leave to separate rooms, or our son, 3M, would share the bed with us. I asked how long she's been fantasizing about him. She said off and on. He wasn't a constant fantasy. It wasn't necessarily about him but more about the taboo. She swore that the fantasies meant nothing. That they were just scenarios to get her there and nothing she would ever actually want. It was tough, but I tried hearing her out instead of shutting down. Arguing wasn't getting us anywhere either. I can't relate to her about this. She's always been enough for me during good and bad times. I was always focused on her during intimacy. I told her that while I knew our marriage wasn't perfect, I thought we were getting to a better place, and we were engaging in various forms of intimacy again. She claims she doesn't indulge the fantasies anymore. I called bull because she did just that on our anniversary of all days. She insisted his name was only a slip of the tongue because she was replying to his texts in the group thread that day. She said she was consumed with what I was doing to her, and in the heat of the moment, his name slipped out. When I asked why she didn't tell me all of this after the incident, she said she felt guilty and afraid for our marriage. She said our marriage was already in a state of recovery, and she didn't want to blow everything up over a stupid mistake. She kept saying she doesn't want him or anyone else, she only wants to be with me, and that's the whole reason why she's fighting for our marriage. The session was a lot. I was mostly quiet after she finished. She asked me to please say something, but all I could say was I needed some time. I'm still sorting through how I feel. I believe she was more truthful, but it's difficult, nor do I see things between her and our friend the same. I would like to work on my marriage. My wife and our son mean the world to me. I want the best solution for everyone involved. Thank you again to everyone. I appreciate the support. TLDR Update 4, on our anniversary, my wife and I were intimate, and she moaned another man's name during sex. The guys in our friend group. She downplayed it and said I was making something out of nothing. Now she's being extra affectionate. I don't believe she's being honest. I'm left reconsidering everything. That's the end of our last post. Let's see what the commenters had to say. Our first commenter says, I think next thing is you need to do is schedule another therapy session and discuss tools for rebuilding trust. At this point, you bring up your trust was shook because she kept trickle-truthing, and how can you know she isn't hiding more from you? That you don't want to distrust her but you don't know how to rebuild. Allow me to be blunt about some uncomfortable truths. Everyone fantasizes. It is if and how we act on our fantasies and if we allow our fantasies to impact our real life that matters. Keep your focus on her behavior, not her fantasies. Trust is similar to reputation, in that once it is broken, it is hard to rebuild. But it can be rebuilt. Trust is always a leap of faith. It is built on little acts of consistent, reliable behavior, but at its heart it is a leap of faith. The little voices in your head, OP? The ones going, but what if she is secretly in love with friend? But what if she thinks he is sexier than me? Etc. Yes, those voices. Nothing your wife can say or do will be able to silence those voices. That is a battle for you and you alone. You need to figure out how to self-smooth those voices. Our second commenter says, well, that's the problem with trickle-truthing. There's no way to know when she stops trickling, and when she's telling the truth. Our third commenter says, power move. Moan the same man's name yourself next time you're having sex with her. Sorry, it sounds like a very tough situation. I hope you are able to figure out the right course of action. That's all for today. If you enjoyed, please leave a like and subscribe. Thank you, and have a wonderful day.